Have you ever wondered how to use textures in Illustrator? If your answer is yes, then you're in the right place. Hi there everyone, my name is Andrei Marius, and in this Envato Tuts Plus tutorial I will show you 3 different techniques that you can use to apply a texture in Adobe Illustrator. Before we begin, make sure to check out Envato Elements, where with a simple subscription you can get unlimited access to millions of creative digital assets such as music, graphics, photos, fonts, and many more. You can subscribe right now with the link in the description. Let's open Illustrator to create a new document. Select pixels from this drop-down menu. Set the width to 1200 and the height to 600. Select RGB for the color mode. Make sure that the resolution is set to 300 pixels per inch. And then click this button to create your new document. You can press Ctrl and 0 to fit the artboard on your entire screen. And then go to View and Show Grid, which will enable the grid. And again to View and Snap to Grid to enable the Snap to Grid feature. For this tutorial you will need a grid line every 1 pixel. So let's go to Edit, Preferences, Guides and Grid. Enter 1 in this grid line every box. Keep the subdivisions set to 1. Click OK. And now you will have a grid line every 1 pixel. Before we start the work on the design, let's open all the panels that will be used throughout this tutorial. Go to Window in the menu bar and open the Appearance panel, the Brushes panel, the Color panel, the Gradient panel, the Info panel, the Layers panel, the Pathfinder panel, the Swatches panel, and the Transparency panel. Once you're done, you can go to the Layers panel and click this button to add a second layer. Rename your layers Background and Vases. Select the background layer to make sure that the shape that you're about to create will go inside it, and then select the rectangle tool from your toolbar. Simply click on your artboard to open this window where you can easily set the size of your new shape. Let's set the width to 1200 and the height to 600. Click OK to create your new shape. Select the stroke and remove the color. And then select the fill and change the color to 255, 130 and 105. Now move to the control panel. Make sure that the alignment is set to artboard and then click these 2 buttons to easily move your shape in the center of the artboard. To make sure that you won't select or move this shape by accident, you can go to the layers panel and lock this layer. Select this other layer and double click it to change this color to black. And now let's create the vase shape. Select the ellipse tool from your toolbar and again click on your artboard to create a 128 pixels circle. Change the fill color of this new shape to 255, 231 and 197. And then switch back to the rectangle tool from your toolbar. This time create a 24 by 88 pixels shape. Grab the move tool from your toolbar. Disable the snap to grid feature and enable the smart guides so that you can easily move this shape in this exact location. Turn back on the snap to grid feature and move this shape 32 pixels up. Keep in mind that you can hold down the shift key to constrain the movement of your shape, and also that you can have a look inside the info panel to know exactly when you have reached the desired location. Again, disable the snap to grid feature, reselect the rectangle tool and use it to create a 48 by 8 pixels shape. Switch to the move tool so that you can move this new shape in this exact location. And then switch to the direct selection tool and focus on the control panel to set the corner radius of this new rectangle to 4 pixels. Now select this shape and adjust this anchor point. Press the delete key to remove it, and then click and drag across the bottom side of this rectangle, which will select just this side. Press the delete key to remove it, and now hold down the shift key to select this path along with this one. Press Ctrl and J once and one more time to join your paths and turn them into a single closed shape. Next, you need to add a bit of roundness for these points. So select the anchor point tool from your toolbar. Don't forget to turn back on the snap to grid and click this point to drag the handles 44 pixels up. Keep in mind that you can hold down the shift key to constrain the movement of these handles, and again you can have a look inside the info panel to know exactly when you get to 44 pixels. Let's continue with this point. Again, click and drag and move the handles 44 pixels down. Continue with this point, click and drag, hold down the shift key and go 32 pixels up. And finally for this point, click and drag, hold down the shift key and go 32 pixels down. Before you continue, change the color of this shape to 42, 50 and 61. And then use the move tool to select the smaller shape to make sure that the new shape that you're about to create will use this fill color, and grab the pen tool from your toolbar. Take a couple of moments and create some random shapes to decorate your vase. Once you're done, you need to switch to the move tool. Hold down the shift key to select all these new shapes and turn them into a compound path by going to Object, Compound Path and Make, or by using the Ctrl and 8 keyboard shortcut. Now select this vase shape, press Ctrl C and Ctrl F to add a copy in front. You can see this copy in the layers panel if you open your layer. Select this copy along with your compound path and click this intersect button from the Pathfinder panel. Press Ctrl and 8 to turn your new group of shapes into a new compound path, and then you need to select all the shapes that make up your vase and press Ctrl and G to easily group them. Move to the control panel and center your vase. Hold down the Alt key to easily drag a copy of this group. Hold down the Shift key to constrain the movement of this copy, and let's move it about 290 pixels to the right. Return to the original group, and this time drag a copy of this group 290 pixels to the left. With this leftmost group selected, let's press Ctrl and plus a few times to zoom in on it, and switch to the direct selection tool from your toolbar. First, click on your artboard to deselect these shapes. Select this main shape, hold down the Shift key and add this rounded rectangle to your selection. Press Ctrl and C to copy these shapes. And now if you press Ctrl and F, the copies will end up inside this group. We don't want that, so let's press Ctrl and Z to undo this move. Make sure that you deselect these shapes, and now if you press Ctrl and F, the copies will be added in the same place, but as you can see, outside the group. Let's press this button to unite these copies, and now let's see what's the first method that you can use to apply a texture in Illustrator. First of all, you need to click this gradient thumbnail, which will fill your shape with a linear gradient. Keep the angle set to 0 degrees and just click this gradient stop. Set the color mode to RGB and replace this color with 42, 50 and 61. Now go to Effect, Texture and Grain. Move these sliders to 40, 50 and make sure that you select stippled from this drop-down menu. Click OK to apply the effect, and let's move to the transparency panel. where you need to change the blending mode to overlay. Return to the gradient panel, select this color stop and lower the opacity to 0%, and that's it. Depending on the project, you might need a different blending mode, gradient angle or opacity levels, so feel free to play with all these settings. For the second method that you can use to apply a texture in Illustrator, you need to start with the ellipse tool, click on your artboard and create a 145 pixel circle. Fill this new shape with a random yellow, press Ctrl and plus to zoom in on it. And within the boundaries of this yellow shape, you need to add a couple of smaller circles. Start with a 5 pixel circle, fill it with black, and then a 3 pixel circle. Again, fill it with black, and then use the move tool to spread some copies like this. Position the smaller ones towards the outside and the larger ones on the inside until you end up with something that's somewhat similar with this. Once you're done, you can select this yellow shape to remove it, and then select all the circle and click this button to save them as a new scatter brush. Feel free to type in a new name for your brush, lower the size to 20%, the spacing to 10%, keep the scatter at 0, set the rotation to -120 degrees, change the colorization method to tints, which will allow you to change the color of your brush after you apply it. Click OK to save your new brush. And now that you can see it inside the brushes panel, you can delete all these circles. Let's select this vase shape and zoom in on it. As we did with the other group, let's use the direct selection tool to select this shape along with this one. Press Ctrl C to copy them, deselect them, and then press Ctrl and F to add copies in front but outside the group, and then unite these new shapes. Deselect this shape, switch to the brush tool from your toolbar, make sure that your scatter brush is selected, and let's draw a path like this, and another one like this. Continue with the move tool and use it to select this path and change the stroke color to white. Select this other path and change the stroke color to black. And then move to the layers panel to move this shape in the top of the layers panel. Select it along with your brushes and go to Object, Clipping Mask and Make, which will mask your brushes. For the final method that you can use to add a texture in Illustrator, let's select this group and zoom in on it. Again, use the direct selection tool to select this shape along with this one. Press Ctrl C, deselect your shapes and press Ctrl F to add copies in front. Unite them and then go to the swatches panel to open this flyout menu. Go to Open Swatch Library, Patterns, Basic Graphics and Basic Graphics Textures. And as you can see, this opened a new panel with some built-in patterns. Make sure that you have the field selected, and for this example we'll use the pattern called Ripple, but feel free to try a different one as you have plenty of alternatives. For the final touch, move to the transparency panel where you can change the blending mode of your pattern to overlay and lower the opacity to 60%. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Remember to hit that like button as it helps me know that I did a good job. Subscribe if you aren't already, and don't forget to click the little bell icon to be notified of any new tutorials. If you are looking to learn even more, you can always check out some of the many tutorials that Envato Tuts Plus has to offer. I'm Andrei Marius, and I'll see you in the next video.